Okay, let's talk about that 4-4 draw. Manchester United versus Bournemouth. I mean, you see a scoreline like that and you immediately think, wow, what a classic, right? Well, the analysis we're digging into today says not so fast. It paints a picture of something else entirely. We're talking about a complete tactical meltdown. Yeah, 4-4. 8 goals in total. On the surface, that's pure entertainment. It's exactly what you want from a Premier League Saturday, right? But that number, it's a bit of a mirage. It hides this really deep systemic dysfunction. This wasn't some epic battle of giants. It was, well, a comedy of errors. So that really gets us to the heart of it, doesn't it? What were we actually watching? Was it a thrilling back-and-forth classic? Or were we just witnessing a manager's entire game plan completely and totally unravel live on television? Well, this analysis pulls no punches. It points the finger squarely at Manchester United's manager, Rúben Amorim, and calls this game a damning indictment of his coaching. The argument is that the crazy scoreline wasn't about attacking genius. Nope. It was about a total collapse of the team structure. Okay, so let's start by looking at United's attack. I mean, they still scored 4 goals, right? So how'd they pull that off? According to this analysis, it had almost nothing to do with any kind of smart, coherent game plan. All right, let's look at the goals one by one. The first 2, the analysis basically flags them as shots the keeper absolutely should have saved, so chalk those up to poor goalkeeping. Then you have the 4th goal, which was just a straight-up gift from a huge defensive mistake. Out of all 4 goals, only one, a pretty clever set piece, gets any credit for being a well-designed play. So you do the math. That's 3 out of 4 goals coming from opponent blunders or just plain luck. That tells you they weren't carving out chances through good open play football. Not at all. And this quote from the source just nails it. It says, United basically lost the battle in open play. At the end of the day, Bournemouth was the better team when the ball was moving. United just got bailed out by opponent mistakes and dead ball situations. You know, your free kicks, your corners. It wasn't about being tactically better. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. We have to ask, why? Why was their open play so bad? And this is where we get right to the heart of the critique, and it all comes down to the tactical setup. So the root of the problem, according to this analysis, is Amorim's favorite 3-4-3 system. Now, this formation is all about high energy, quick transitions, but the argument here is that, frankly, it's outdated. It's seen as tactically obsolete. You put it up against a modern possession-based team that uses a solid back 4, and it just gets picked apart. But wait, it gets even crazier, because Amorim tried to adjust it mid-game. So when they were attacking, they were in that 3-4-3. But when they lost the ball and had to defend, they shifted into this, well, the source literally calls it a joke, 4-2-4 shape. Think about that. 4 attackers just hanging out at field, leaving only 2 midfielders to defend this huge, gaping hole in the middle of the park. It was the absolute worst of both worlds. They had 0 defensive stability, and their 2 central midfielders were just left on an island, totally outnumbered. And the result, an absolute disaster. The midfield wasn't just a weakness, it was a black hole. Bournemouth just waltzed through the middle of the pitch again and again. They'd win the first header, and then crucially, they'd win the second ball, that loose ball after the challenge. Why? Because United's 2 poor midfielders were just swamped every single time. That little defensive tweak, it gained them nothing in attack, and it cost them literally everything at the back. So here's the kicker. The manager's attempt to be clever, to be tactically flexible, was the actual cause of the problem. His so-called adjustments weren't fixing anything. They were creating these massive, catastrophic failures all over the pitch. All right, so where does all this leave us? What's the final verdict on this 4 for mess? Well, let's just say the analysis delivers a pretty brutal judgment on the coach and where he stands in today's game. And wow, this comparison is just savage. The source says the only comparable coach is late-era Arsene Wenger. For any football fan, you know what that means. It's basically calling him a tactical dinosaur. It's saying his methods just don't cut it anymore at the top level, that his entire philosophy is just expired. But here's the thing. Just when you think the argument is sack him immediately, it takes this wild, unexpected turn. The analysis says that despite all of this failure, there's a good reason to keep him around. And what's that reason? It's not about winning games. It's about the spectacle. The argument is that his tactical collapses are so epic, so consistently chaotic, that he's become this incredible real-life case study in how not to do things. In a very strange way, he's become must-see TV because of the chaos. And that really leaves us with a pretty wild question to chew on, doesn't it? In this age of nonstop content, where we're always looking for the next big drama, are we getting to a point where a spectacular train wreck failure is actually more entertaining than a boring disciplined win? It's a really interesting thought about what we actually want from football these days.